The 19th edition of the annual NHRDN National Conference, held recently in New Delhi, was a unique forum for over 1,000 thought leaders, practitioners, young professionals, academicians and students to converge and discuss game-changing HR initiatives that aim to shape the continuously evolving role of human resources. The president of the Delhi and NCR chapter, Nishchay Suri, welcomed the delegates in the inaugural session.
To everyone who is here today, a big, big welcome. Let me begin with a quote. If your actions inspire others to dream more, learn more, do more, and become more, you are a leader. Behind every great effort, there is an extraordinary story. This is your story as much as it is mine. Let me begin by humbly accepting I have learned a great deal about the profession, community, and myself during this incredible journey of organizing a conference of this scale. I have come to accept through this experience that leadership through acceptance, support, and influence is the only way to orchestrate an effort of this magnitude. We have spent months to arrive at what you will witness today and tomorrow, and can only express deep gratitude to everyone who has been a part of this journey. Thank you and welcome once again.
K. Ramkumar, National President at National HRD Network, took the stage next and spoke of the organization's vision under his leadership.
So again, to Chanda and to Shiv for being here for the inaugural session. My welcome to all of you here. In the last 4 months, after the new team has taken over, people have asked about what is the vision, right? And I thought that the best time is to do this in this conference and do it after we have done some work. We have 2 beta products. Launch date 26th of January, national launch, right? In ICICI, we say what cannot be done in 100 days is not worth doing it. So we cannot keep on saying we'll design products through 2 terms. By April, all design should be over. Between April to June 2017, we will be on execution mode, and it will be executed. Thank you, and have a great conference.
D. Shivakumar, the chairman and CEO PepsiCo India, addressed the audience and stressed the importance of the HR department taking up a proactive leadership role in defining the culture of an organization.
I believe that people is going to be the most important asset, not just this decade, but even the next decade. And you are going to be the guardians and the shapers of possibly the most important asset we have in an organization or in society, which is people. So when I speak to employees across many companies, they say, look, I find HR hiding behind policies. I find HR hiding behind processes. We can't afford to let that happen. HR has to be up there with the leadership. And in that sense, I'm a great believer, and I give you the analogy. The old planes 20 years ago had 3 people in the cockpit: pilot, co-pilot, navigator. The new planes have 2 people in the cockpit, pilot and co-pilot. The pilot is the CEO. The co-pilot is the CFO. The navigator is the CHRO. You have to be the guardian of that value system and the true north. And you have to get your way into the cockpit. You cannot be sitting outside. You cannot be sitting in row 10A. Okay? So HR has to be integral in this process of management of people. You can outsource anything and everything, ladies and gentlemen, but one thing you cannot outsource is culture. That is something which you, me, all of us need to hold ourselves accountable to and say, we will create this type of a culture. The day the leadership, the day the top management, the day HR abdicates culture, you have a company which is going downhill.
The need for corporate leadership to architect the next curve, to inspire, impact, and innovate best practices was the main theme of the event, and the same was echoed in the speech by the MD and CEO of ICICI Bank, Chanda Kochar.
I particularly find the theme of the conference today very interesting. I think architecting the next curve. You know, when we are talking of the word architecting, we have to make sure that we are not just talking about what ought to be done, but we are actually talking about how to do it and actually make it happen. Our actions today, whatever they are, will architect really the new curve. And like architects, we have an important role to play today in shaping the future, in inspiring the young, in innovating and creating benchmarks, and be impactful in a way that we make a difference not just to our own lives, not just to our own corporations, not just to our country, but overall to the society and to billions of individuals. So, you know, as we look at the future, I think there'll be multiple forces that will shape the next curve. And I'm particularly wanting to go beyond just the HR practices, because I think HR is an integral part of business. So I think it's important for all of us to understand how business will get to the next curve so that we prepare our organizations and ourselves and our practices for getting to the next curve. So let me conclude by saying that I hope the discussions at the conference today and tomorrow will focus on foreseeing the next curve in terms of how the society and economy is evolving, and therefore the next curve for HR practices, and how we use the next curve to leverage the next curve to realize India's potential through these changing mindsets, through these changing practices at all levels, from individuals to organizations to societies. Thank you.
The conference also saw the launch of the book, The Leadership Odyssey, From Darkness to Light, co-authored by the CEO at Lead Center, Padma Shri Preetham Singh. Kamal Singh, the Director General at the National HRD Network, brought the inaugural session to a close by thanking all the key stakeholders.
Ladies and gentlemen, you'll all agree with me that we had a very good start with two powerful addresses this morning at the inaugural session. And it is now my proud privilege to acknowledge our appreciation for the people who have made it so well. First of all, we are really grateful to our inaugural speaker, Chandaji, for first accepting our invitation to join us and making her address so lively and powerful. Now, I would like to thank one gentleman who agreed so graciously to chair this conference, that is Mr. D. Shivakumar, a remarkable CEO who has proven that it is possible to grow even this subdued global economy. He chaired the conference with aplomb and brought considerable gravitas to the discussion, as you see from his address. Ladies and gentlemen, please do join me in thanking and applauding Mr. D. Shivakumar, Conference Chairman and Chairman CEO of PepsiCo, by a big round of applause. We are indeed grateful to our conference mentor, Padma Shri Dr. Preetham Singh, for helping us in putting together conference design and structure, and also helping getting some of the renowned speakers both from India and abroad. Our members of various core committees, regional presidents, chapter presidents, and many others who have really helped us to mobilize not only the speaker, not only the delegates, but also the sponsorship as well. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for joining this morning.
Rishikesha T. Krishnan, the Director and Professor of Strategy at IIM Indore, kick-started the session themed Architecting Sustainable Growth Strategies by inviting the IOCL Chairman, B. Ashok, who gave insights into building impactful leadership models.
How to build growth strategies that can be sustained and help build an enduring organization is a waking thought of business leaders worldwide as they go about making sense of growing uncertainties and challenges in business. I would now like to address the issue of building impactful leaderships for tomorrow. as a panelist from the public sector, I would like to share the perspective of how the HRD models being followed by us contribute to grooming our workforce to be catalysts of sustainable growth. I am sure that it is recognized fact today that public sector employees who have been loyal to their companies are fully capable of understanding the need of change for the growth of their organization. Here I would like to add that as Indian Oil grew by leaps and bounds over the last years, went on to diversify and integrate across the hydrocarbon value chain and build new businesses, our employees have gone along, imbibed and relentlessly demonstrate the values of care, innovation, passion and trust, which we got into our day-to-day working and gradually became deeply entrenched in our DNA. Many organizations are today trying hard to retain their employees. The HR function is constantly re-establishing the concept that the internally grown leadership is better compared to external leaders brought from outside. Traditionally, our company has been nurturing recruited talents to bring them to the leadership position. A school of thought considered this organic growth model as a threat for the organization, as new talent was not getting inducted at higher levels in the organization. Human energy is constant flux of in and out, was considered by many to be a model for rejuvenating the organization and making it more active. We at Indian Oil believe that this organic growth model of human resource can actually be transformed into a competitive advantage. With a workforce which is competent, which is loyal, has a long-term perspective in the organization and is already baptized into the culture and values of the organization. These are challenging times for HR professionals. You need to really take into account issues like talent management, employee engagement, and so on. But probably in India, we still have an ethos or a culture where it is just not the money that really keeps people at work. I think if you recognize that, money is important. I'm not saying that if I get a better salary, certainly I'll be very happy. But it is not that alone which makes people tick or stick to an organization. I think that's the thought I would like to leave you with. Thank you very much for the patient hearing.
Josh Bersin, the principal and founder at Bersin by Deloitte, was one of the international speakers at the conference. He touched upon the ways the HR department could innovatively engage and motivate the workforce to create a vibrant organization.
Now, in my experience as an analyst, I happen to have this wonderful job where I get to talk to hundreds and hundreds of companies, and I get to talk to vendors and technology companies, and I've looked at all of the tools out there. Engagement is very complex. If the job is a job that could be done by a computer, and there are a lot of jobs like that, and it is not an enriching job, and it does not allow people to have autonomy, and we don't fit the right person for the right job, and we don't give them enough time to do the job, people aren't going to be happy. We're not machines. We don't run like our iPhones. We need to rest. And we need to build jobs that are the right jobs for people. And these days, with cognitive computing and robotics getting faster and faster and faster, one of the roles we play in HR is looking at the jobs and making sure we have the right roles and the right jobs in the organization that will, in fact, sustain human beings. I don't need to talk about management. Everybody knows it's important. But one of the things that I've learned, and I think you need to think about this, is if you look at the pattern of leadership development and management development in companies, it's widely varying. Some companies do it really well, a lot of companies don't. In fact, there's a four-fold difference between high-performing companies and how much they spend on leadership and low-performing companies in leadership. So there's lots of companies out there that aren't spending much at all on leadership, and they're not taking it seriously. And so if we aren't developing and coaching people in management, we're not building the right kind of organization. Most of us have relatively complicated lives. We have children, we have parents, we have all sorts of issues at home, and we can't work 24 hours a day. We need to have some flexibility about when and where we work. We have to give people thanks. We have to appreciate them. It has a huge impact on your environment at work. There's research we recently did in Deloitte, Canada, which shows that when you bring more light into the office, productivity goes up. I mean, it seems obvious, but walk around a lot of companies and look at where their facilities and how they're set up. The offices are old, the company is old, nobody's invested in the buildings, they haven't upgraded the environment. And for those of you that, certainly those of you here in India, you understand this, a lot of our research shows, and we have research in Deloitte, that highly inclusive teams are proven to have 4 to 5 times higher business performance than those that are not. Today, more than ever, you will not be able to solve these kinds of problems by copying something that somebody else did. You have to be bold. You have to take some risks. You have to invent some things and do the things that are right for your company. And that's what I think HR and great HR is all about. Thank you very much.
Sunil Mithas, professor at Robert H. Smith School of Business at the University of Maryland, next gave an enlightening speech about how micro-level decisions of the HR department impact the growth and sustainability of an organization.
Many a times when we are working in functional areas, and I was just as much a victim of that, when we work in the project department, IT department, HR department, name the function, we, I think, have a tendency to view our job very narrowly. I think there is a way that we can move away from that. We can broaden our responsibility by thinking about firm performance or our own performance in a broader manner. Whatever I do during the day, or let's say whatever I do in my functional area, how does it align with 5 or 6 things that companies care about? So how do my actions contribute to adding volume or growth? So think about the top line of the company. Think about the income statement of the company. How do my actions in HR function contribute to the top line? How do my actions in the HR function contribute to what I call as D for differentiation, increasing willingness to pay of customers? How do my actions in the HR function help to reduce costs, not HR costs, the overall cost of the company? So focus on the overall cost. How do I optimize risk for my company? I'm not talking about minimizing risk. I'm talking about optimizing risk. We need to engage in some intelligent risk taking. How do we continuously innovate? So what can HR do to get employees to innovate? Also help to change the industry structure in its favor. And finally, for sustainable organization, transformation is very necessary. Thank you very much.
The CEO session, titled Architecting the Next Curve, was chaired by A.K. Balyan, CEO, Oil and Gas Business, Reliance ADA. He set the tone by inviting the first speaker, Kalpana Morparia, CEO at JP Morgan, India. Ms. Morparia lamented the gender imbalance in the workplace and its adverse effects on the world economy.
You know, as you think about the next curve, please do think about the underrepresentation that my gender has in corporate India. Today, unless we as organization recognize this paucity of women, if you see broadly within your organization, at entry level, we are pretty equal, 45, 55, 50, 50. It's at the middle level where you suddenly see women drop out. And unless we use tools to really encourage them to stay on, bring them back if they've fallen off, we are doing a disservice, not just to our firms, but I think we are doing a disservice to India. Very recently, McKinsey has come out with a report as to how the global GDP would be higher if we had greater women participation. And we did a benchmark, we participated in a survey across Asia Pacific, and the worst numbers amongst the countries that we participated in were in India. If you look at India, where India is today compared to China, compared to some of the other emerging markets, we are actually very, very low. So I think as HR professionals, you guys can play a very, very big role in ensuring that our organizations do everything that there is to it. Thank you so much.
Bhavdeep Singh, CEO of Fortis Healthcare, was the next speaker at the CEO session, and he shared his thoughts on the changing paradigms in the healthcare sector.
So what we're talking about, what we see happening in healthcare, the changes that are taking place, is the patient's expectations are rising every day, and they should. You'll be sitting at home, reading a newspaper, having a cup of tea, and you'll get a message that your cholesterol level's up, your blood pressure's up, or you have whatever it might be. Remote monitoring is around the corner. What's at some point in the future is the doctor will be sitting in Delhi and the patient will be in Ahmedabad. That's what's happening in healthcare. So that's the conversation we're having, is how do you get ready for that change? How do you prepare the people in the organization for that change? And how do you make sure that you enable it? Because the doctors have a vision. The nurses have a vision. My job is to make sure that they have the tools and resources to do it. We're investing a lot in technology. We're investing a lot in patient care to understand what is a patient need. So it's an exciting industry. There's a lot going on, but it's challenging as well. It was announced 2 days ago that the UK, in a joint agreement with the Indian government, is spending 10,000 crore to open 11 hospitals in India. They are not going to come here and say, when in India, do as the Indians. They're going to bring their processes with them. They're going to bring their efficiencies with them. They're going to bring their patient standards with them. We don't stand a chance if we're not a more productive nation. We have to become more productive. And if we do it 5 years from now for a far more productive nation, if we're far more productive corporate environment, it'll be because this group did a fantastic job. But the great point about what's happening is it's our time to drive the bus. Thank you.
The valedictory session of the 19th edition of the annual NHRDN National Conference was chaired by Suresh Tripathi, the Regional President, Eastern Region at NHRDN. He invited the guest of honor, Raghupati Singhania, Chairman and MD JK Tyre and Industries, to address the audience.
A good corporate leader exemplifies humility, and humility is the mark of an inspirational leader. The journey from corporate leader to inspiring leader is 2HRD. Inspiration is most powerful when it is internal and not necessarily external, as most of us like to believe. Inspiration is most genuine when someone learns from one's own experience and wants to bring in a change for the benefit of the business and for the people and the team. In today's environment, chief HROs have to be acting as co-pilots to the CEOs, not just to win the war for talents, but taking the business forward ahead of competition and creating new experiences for their customers, stakeholders, as never before. HR leaders have, therefore, to act as strategic partners to get involved in various areas such as creating a strategy and integrating HR with business strategy, managing and leading change, including radical changes, managing mergers, acquisitions, changeovers, and issues connected with such events in the organization's life cycle, within the country and outside, defining required culture and making people change their mindsets to accept it, as also inspire a culture of transparency. Architecting the new curve requires not just initiation and in-the-moment propaganda. It requires commitment to creative thinking, innovation, and entrepreneurial spirit, and most importantly, sustenance by the leadership over a long period of time.
The 19th edition of the annual NHRDN National Conference came to a successful close with the National Secretary of NHRDN, S.V. Nathan, delivering the vote of thanks.
It is your involvement and interest that has helped us make a great conference. A big hand to all of you. Sincerely, sir. They say, live your life so that the fear of death can never enter your heart. When you arise in the morning, give thanks to the morning light. Give thanks to your life and strength. Give thanks for your food and the joy of living. And if perchance you see no reason for giving thanks, rest assured the fault is in yourself. This is an old American Indian chief who said this. Thank you once again, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us, and see you at the 20th National Conference 2016. Thank you, everybody.